Taiwanese beef noodle soup is the ultimate comfort food of the island of Taiwan. While beef noodle soup has its roots back into ancient China, the modern incarnation of red braised beef noodle soup, or紅燒牛肉麵, is popularized in Taiwan, and they even hold annual competitions to see who's the best. It's very easy to make at home, and let's see if this can compare. So let's go! Here we'll make a very basic recipe for Taiwanese beef noodle soup. While the ingredients are quite simple, just beef, noodles, broth, and veggies, most Taiwanese beef noodle soup recipes are quite complex in terms of flavor profile, texture, and quality of ingredients. So we'll start our recipe with the beef. I'm using a mixture of beef shank and beef tendon, both available at most Asian grocery stores. I'm going to start by making the broth in an Instant Pot. So I'm going to first set the Instant Pot on saute so we can blanch the beef with a quick boil. As the pot is warming up, we'll add 2 cups of water. Next we'll add the beef tendon and followed by the beef shank. Now this blanching step isn't absolutely necessary, but does help get rid of most of the impurities for a much clearer and cleaner broth. Next, we add the beef shank. This is the leg muscle that is quite tough, but when braised for a long period of time or at high pressures in the Instant Pot, becomes quite tender. In total, I have about 3.5 pounds of meat here. Here, I'm adding a tablespoon or so of rice wine. You can also add shallots or green onions, ginger, but this is water that's going to be discarded, so I try not to use too many ingredients here. After 5 minutes or so, you'll see some of that scum buildup that floats to the top, and that's what we're trying to get rid of with this blanching step. And also at this stage, the tendon will become quite hard, but that's okay. As we cook it later, it will soften up. Okay, let's go to the sink and dump out the water. You can see some of that scum come out, and that's what we want to get rid of to make a clear broth. I'll also take some more water and just wash off any that's sticking on the meat. Here you can see that the tendon has been thoroughly cleaned. And we'll do the same for the rest of the meat and set it aside. The beef shank is also nice and clean now. Now we can just dump all this dirty water and wash out the pot so we're ready for making a clean broth. And here's our meat, ready for braising. Isn't that lovely? So back to our Instant Pot. Now I'm adding 1 cup of clean water and adding our meat back in, so the beef tendon and the beef shank. Now for the flavoring, I'll start with 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. We'll then add 1 tablespoon of minced ginger. Now I like to keep my ginger in the freezer and just mince it in on a microplane. This is a technique I found on America's Test Kitchen, which worked quite well. Half a stalk of green onions, a couple to a few cloves of star anise, depending on how strong you like the flavor, followed by a teaspoon of whole peppercorns. I like to add some soybean paste, and this is the spicy version. But of course you can add whatever flavorings you like. And now the braising liquid. I have 2 cups of homemade beef broth. You can use whatever broth you have. Chicken broth will work as well, or just water. And if you need a recipe for beef broth, please check out my link in the description below. Now this is a noodle soup, so you do want enough liquid to cover all the ingredients. So feel free to top it off with more water if needed. Here I'll add another tablespoon of rice wine, 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce for both color and flavor, 2 tablespoons of regular soy sauce, again for more flavor, And that's really it. If you want to add more chili flakes for spice or a sweetener for sweetness, you can also do that at this time. Otherwise, we'll set the Instant Pot on seal and now pressure cook. Here I'm setting the Instant Pot for an hour and 20 minutes, and we'll also do a natural release over about 15 to 20 minutes. This has been a game changer, as older recipes sometimes you are simmering for over 4 hours, sometimes half a day. But technology, am I right? Now, just about 10 to 20 minutes before ready to eat, I'll start the noodles. Here I'm using Taiwanese thick noodles. You can use any noodles you like. You can use wheat noodles, flour noodles, egg noodles, thin, thick. It's really up to your preference. And for a ketogenic lifestyle, you can always use shirataki noodles. But here I'm just using traditional Taiwanese noodles, as that's what I have. So after a pot of water comes to boil, just drop in the noodles and cook until your ideal doneness, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how al dente you like it. For me, it's been about 6 or 7 minutes, and you can test the noodle at this point. And about a minute more, and this is when I'll start blanching my vegetables. So here I have some cut up bok choy, which adds a nice crunch and crispness to the dish. All right, noodles are ready. And we'll also place the bok choy. At this point, the meat is ready from the Instant Pot. Make sure that that natural release is completed. And look at that. Nice golden braised beef. The beef shank and the beef tendon. And that beef tendon is really soft and broken down. Now we'll carefully remove the meat, as it is quite broken down and very tender and soft, and it almost breaks apart. Especially the beef shank, you can see it's almost falling apart just with tongs. This is a lovely golden color, and we'll let it cool a little bit and it'll firm up slightly, easier for slicing. Now when ready to eat, we will take this broth and use it in our soup, or the noodle soup. Now it's hard to tell, but you can totally smell the flavor. It is just packed with that beefy flavor. Once the beef's cooled down a bit, it is time to slice. And there's no real technique here, just slice it depending on how thick or thin you like your beef. I like them somewhat medium, so cutting the shank in half and roughly 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch thick slices. Now, if you let the meat cool to room temperature, they'll actually be much easier to slice, but I'm already hungry, so meat is still a little hot and still kind of falling apart. So I'll plate that and put it into our bowl of noodles. Next, we'll add the tendon, same technique, and cut it to however thick or thin you like it. Again, here it's about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch slices. And we'll add that to our noodle bowl as well. Now, final topping, purely optional but quite traditional, is preserved mustard greens. In many Taiwanese beef noodle shops, they'll just have this sitting in a jar, and you can add as much or as little as you like to the top of your bowl of noodles. It adds some sourness and savoriness to the dish, as well as a crunchy texture. And there you have it, a complete bowl of beef noodle soup with all the fixings. Now I like to top off with some chopped spring onions, and this is now ready to serve. Looks delicious. Time to eat. Look at that gorgeous bowl of beef, tendon, and veggies. Oh, so full of flavor and very tender meat. Now look at these noodles. They're soaking up all that broth. It's gonna be so flavorful. Very good. Full of flavor, perfectly cooked. That's how noodles should taste. But for me, it is all about the tendon with a bit of the pickled greens. So soft and flavorful, great mouthfeel, and that contrast with the pickled greens. It is delicious. So there you have it, my recipe for traditional Taiwanese beef noodle soup. Until next time, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.